Good afternoon. This is Kevin Smithen, Chief Commercial and Strategy Officer for DigitalBridge. So we're focused on five key subsegments of digital infrastructure: fiber, cell towers, data centers, small cells, and edge infrastructure. And what these all have in common is that they're physical layer real assets, right? Where we're leasing space and power to our key customers with long duration contracts, and our customers tend to be large investment grade counterparties. So it's a recurring cash flow model, a growth compounder business model that we think is the most attractive business model in any segment in the market. And that's why we've committed a lot of our own capital behind this strategy to invest personally alongside our investors and our shareholders to take advantage of this key opportunity. Well, look, as we start to get into the meat of the 5G rollout, particularly in the US, that is focused on the enterprise 5G market. And the enterprises are building out a lot of indoor 5G networks. So these include DAS systems, indoor small cells, and in some cases, Wi-Fi networks. So we're seeing a lot of activity in indoor mobile connectivity, both at the factory level for companies like the German automakers, and they're starting to re-automate their factories with indoor 5G connectivity and sensors. Very, very interesting. So that's a new application for 5G. And then we're seeing it in transportation hubs such as airports and bus stations and other transportation hubs that are rolling out new Wi-Fi and 5G networks to support lots of new applications and demand. $5G is still in its early stages in terms of applications. There was a lot of hype surrounding 5G rollouts 3-4 years ago. The reality is that 5G has really just started in earnest over the last 6 to 12 months, with handsets proliferating into the system, and 5G applications focused on the enterprise, which in our view is the biggest driver for 5G, just starting to take shape now in the US. 5G deployments on the infrastructure side are just beginning in Europe, and we expect a long runway in the rest of the world, particularly emerging markets. 5G deployments on the infrastructure side will continue for 2 to 3 years in the US, probably 3 to 5 years in Europe, and through the end of the decade in emerging markets. So early innings for 5G, and I think that the mobile network operators are really focused on getting a return on that 5G investment, on the spectrum cost, on the network cost, before there's any consideration for what comes after 5G. 5G is a really revolutionary technology in the sense that the network is now being virtualized and a lot of hardware is being replaced by software, which creates new opportunities for new applications. But the downside of that is those applications are going to take longer to develop. So it's not just about higher speed bandwidth, it's really about new business models. And though I think 5G is going to be a longer cycle than, say, 3G or 4G were in the wireless community. So what we're seeing is a complete re-architecting and ultimately rebuilding of digital infrastructure networks around the world. So schools, governments, corporations, and universities, they are all redesigning how they work with their constituents. And this is really driving rethinking from dense urban corridors or financial centers like London, New York, Singapore, Hong Kong. Those were the hubs of activity for digital infrastructure for the last decade. What we're starting to see now is a re-architecting toward where the consumer consumes that data. And that's increasingly, so I mentioned one of the 5 segments that we invest in, edge infrastructure. This is the fastest growing area that we're focused on right now. This is connectivity and computing power closer to the end users. So it could be in second and third tier cities, it could be in suburban locations, and ultimately it could be in rural locations alongside highways and rail lines. That edge infrastructure is critical to drive low latency applications like artificial intelligence and gaming, and is really important for transportation operators to facilitate smart autonomous cars, autonomous trains and buses and trucks over time as the intermodal transportation system becomes smarter, and that's all going to be facilitated with edge infrastructure. So this is really a huge segment for us. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in CapEx on the edge, and we're really excited about those opportunities, both in North America, in Europe, and in emerging markets in Asia.